all of you are fine. And we are back again with a new lesson today. And this is going to be something different from what we have done so far. We've done a lot of grammar topics, we've done a lot of literature lessons, we have also done a letter writing. But this is something different. And that is, you're going to learn today, the lesson for today is writing an autobiography. You might have done it before in class 5, but let me just recap it for you. What do you mean by the word autobiography? If you look at the word carefully, auto and biography, these two, you can break it up into two parts. The word autobiography. So biography we know is a detailed account about someone. And when a person writes about his own life himself, then it is called as autobiography. So if I write about my life, then it will be an autobiography. But if you write about my life, then it will be a biography. Is that clear, students? So now we're going to learn how to write our own story. Yes, it's going to be interesting. How to write your own story. Let us begin. So first thing first, we have understood what is an autobiography, but we need to know how we're going to be tested on this particular topic. Now, how do we ask? What kind of questions can you expect? It is generally a long answer type question that carries 8 to 10 marks. Okay, and you need to write a minimum of 3 paragraphs. As is always with a long answer type question, when you have a question of 8 to 10 marks, obviously you are expected to write in at least 3 paragraphs. And it can range from around 200 to 250 words. Fine, because you'll have to encompass the entire life story of a human being, of a person. Okay, so an autobiography must have an interesting title. Now, that's a very important thing. If you look at all the famous autobiographies written by different people all over the world, you will see that their title is a kind of a summary of their life, or probably it talks about the key points that they are going to address in that autobiography. And when you're writing a title, a heading, you must always remember that it should be title case. That means the main letters, the beginning letters of the main words, the beginning letters of the main words should always be in capital. Okay, so in your computer also, I'm sure you must have learned what is title keys, what is caps lock, what is small letters. Everything is small, that's a different thing. A title case is whenever you're writing a heading, then we need to begin every beginning letter of a word with a capital letter, barring a few small minor words like prepositions, verbs, and articles. You could leave them out. Okay. Now, it is always written in the first person. Why? Because it is your own story. Nobody is going to tell your story. You are going to tell your own story. So therefore, it is written in the first person. And the autobiography offers the first-hand experiences. Therefore, it is the first-hand experiences of the authors, thus making them interesting to the readers and enabling them to understand the other unseen side of the authors. Now, you may have read an autobiography, or you may come across an autobiography of a scientist or of a sportsman, but that person may have some interest in some other field. You might learn about some interesting episode in his childhood, or you might even learn about something in his old age which he has done after his retirement, after his career is over. So these often surprise the readers, and they give you a lot of learning, very big values and lessons that we can learn from these autobiographies. Here I've listed some autobiographies for you which I thought would be interesting to you and which I also thought that you should read. Okay, these are very, very influential and wonderful biographies. Do take it up one at a time and try to cover them. Autobiographies are mainly written by famous people. Obviously, if I write my biography, maybe you would read it, being you being my students, You may love me and you may want to know about my life. But who else will read my autobiography, isn't it? So I haven't done something worthwhile where which will influence everybody and everybody would like to have a peek into my life. Fine. So generally autobiographies are written by famous people. They teach us different stories, the author's struggles in life, the emotions they went through, and that makes them more human. So we get to know about the human side of their life, which we did not know so far. So you could check out Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography. It's called The Story of My Experiments with Truth. Please notice the title case in this story, in this autobiography. The Story of My Experiments with Truth. The Diary of a Young Girl. Sachin Tendulkar named his autobiography Playing It My Way. Anne Frank writes The Diary of a Young Girl. Shane Warne writes my autobiography, No Spin. Yes, he's a cricketer also. And Wings of Fire is the name of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's autobiography. And I am Malala, you know, Malala Yousafzai. You should read about her life. It's a very, very interesting autobiography. And we don't write autobiographies after we die. Remember that. Obviously, we cannot write it after we die. We write it when we feel that we want to share some part of our life with the world. And generally, an autobiography is about the entire span of our life. Unlike Anne Frank's Diary of a Young Girl, she talks about her daily, day-to-day accounts in the concentration camps when, during the rule of Hitler, the Nazis had captured all the Germans and they were brutally tortured by the Nazis. So she was in hiding, and all the problems that she had faced when she was in hiding, that is what the diary talks about and gives us valuable first-hand experiences of all the harrowing experiences that she had to go through. It's a very, very scary yet very informative autobiography. And I am Malala. Now she's still alive and she's young. God bless her. She's doing a lot of service to the people of her nation, and she is inspiring all other women to be as strong as her. And she has achieved quite a lot. So I would recommend you to definitely read these two biographies. And I'm sure you would want to read about Mahatma Gandhi, Sachin Tendulkar, Shane Warne, and APJ Abdul Kalam. We know he is a big scientist. So these autobiographies, if you read these autobiographies, you will get to know what is an autobiography all about, and you will understand the joy of reading an autobiography. Okay, so try it once. But as far as your exams are concerned, you could be asked to write an autobiography, which is a story or a narrative written from the point of view of an inanimate object. For example, autobiography of a pen, a coin, a pet cat, a bottle of sanitizer, so many endless, a chair, a table, the pencil box, the tiffin box, your comb, the newspaper, the list is endless. So how to do that, isn't it? So that is what we're going to learn today. How you can write an autobiography of an inanimate object. That is our lesson for today. So while writing such an autobiography of an inanimate object, what do we do? So first thing that we should do is we should try to put ourselves in the position of the animal or object you are writing about, and imagine the things that it would see, think, say, or feel if it were alive. So, if you are a coin, then you'll have to think that you are really a coin. And what are the things that you would experience? Where would you stay? Your home will be the wallet of a person, isn't it? Or maybe a coin box, or maybe a piggy bank. Fine. If it is about a pet cat, if it's a pet cat, then you can talk about the place, the home that you live in, who is your master,
whom you like the most in that particular house, how you were born, talk about your family, your maybe your parents, they don't live with you anymore. So, those kind of things, and whether you miss them, and whether you've had a fight with another cat in the neighborhood that day. So there could be a lot of things like that. So you'll have to actually put yourself in that object's shoes, not literally, but figuratively. You'll have to feel, imagine, and you will have to imagine all the things that that person would see, think, say, or feel if it were alive. So I hope you've understood that. Yes, that is the first step of writing an autobiography of an inanimate object. Let us proceed further now. So, how do you prepare for it? Now, you know what to write. So, you know what you have the thoughts in your mind. So, before you start writing, you should actually jot down your thoughts in points. Make a rough column, okay? And in a rough sheet of paper, you should jot down all the points that come to your mind in random order. Then make the note of the facts and important events that are worth including. What episodes are you going to include? See, everything is going to be imaginary, nothing is real. But you may have some ideas. You might have seen a movie, you might have had a real experience, or you might have suddenly struck upon a wonderful idea to include. So, note down all the events that you're going to put in that particular autobiography. So you may come across 10 such things, but you're not going to put all those 10 into it, right? So you will choose the best ones, the ones which will be most interesting or which will have a message. So how will you choose the events? The events which will give the message to the readers, or which will be very interesting, very funny, and which everybody will laugh and enjoy. So your autobiography will be appreciated. So you can make that. Okay, so you can then shortlist. First you make the list of all the points, then you shortlist from there. Okay, I should include only these 5 or 4. Fine. Then you have to put them in order. How am I going to begin? Which is going to be first? Which came first? Which is going to be later? All these thoughts should be ready before you start writing. So most of you, if you do this, then you will never go wrong in the presentation of your autobiography, and people will appreciate it and they will enjoy it, and you will feel so good and satisfied after writing an autobiography. Okay, so that was the preparation stage, and now I will take you over to the real stage. How do you begin? Yes, this is a big problem, isn't it? If somebody could give you the beginning, then you would be able to write, isn't it? Many a times we get stuck with the beginning. So here I am to help you how to begin an autobiography. Start your autobiography in an interesting way. Say, we don't want anybody to start reading and then immediately close the book. Oh, how boring. No, you should attract your reader right from the first thing, from the first word itself. It should be in such an interesting way that people are intrigued and they want to read more about it. You may start with your birth and then you can proceed further. That is one way of doing it. You could narrate an interesting story of your birth or a funny incident from your childhood. You can begin with these things. These are certain tips to begin with. But interestingly, you must have seen certain movies which do not begin the with Amitabh Bachchan in his childhood. You begin with Amitabh Bachchan in his present form, an old man, and he is narrating the story of his childhood. And it begins. It all began on that day, and it goes in a flashback. That is also a nice way to start an autobiography. So try, think, read, remember all the books that you have read, remember all the movies that you have seen, and think about how you want your autobiography to look like, and then start the autobiography. I'm sure you have better ideas to begin an autobiography now. Yes?
Okay, now you have begun the autobiography. How will you proceed? I told you in the beginning that it has to be 3 paragraphs, minimum 3 paragraphs. Now, the introduction was the first paragraph. Now you have to talk about the incidents. You'll have to gradually move ahead with your life. And so you will bring up the first incident in the body of the autobiography. Now, you may have more than one good incident that you want to talk about. So you could divide those incidents into different paragraphs. So the body could be in more than one paragraph. Fine. Now, the body could be written in more than one paragraph. You could compare your present personality
with your personality in your youth, like what you are today and what you were in your youth. And then you can talk about the different incidents that happened to bring about that change. Why are you so different today? And why were you so different earlier? What happened in between? So that will interest the people in between. Fine, that would be an interesting idea. Though the author is the main character, you are the main character. It is your autobiography. So you are the hero of your story. Fine. You could talk about some important family members or friends who helped to shape your life and narrate incidents both happy and sad. So you can talk about all the characters that were there in the story, but the main idea is to convey your thoughts, your feelings. And don't forget, remember that incidents are important definitely in the autobiography, but it is also about your feelings and the philosophies and what have you understood from life. What are the lessons? What did life teach you? Is there anything that you have learned from life? You could share those things. If these are the valuable lessons which will add more value to your autobiography. Yeah. Okay, now the most important thing is to end. We have begun well, we have also proceeded, but now we should also end well. That's also important. So, how to end? We want to leave our readers on a happy note, on a positive note, isn't it? We want people to remember our autobiography. You want them to enjoy the autobiography and you want to leave the readers feeling happy and satisfied, isn't it? With a smile on their faces. So, how could you do that? By sharing something positive, by maybe you could also talk about the purpose of writing their autobiography. And generally, the person who's writing the autobiography is in his later part of his life. Generally, a person decides to write an autobiography in his old age. Very few young people would like to write an autobiography. It is possible if they feel that they have enough to talk about in their lives, and they want some important messages to be conveyed to all their readers. They could write an autobiography even in their youth. There's nothing wrong in that. I am Malala is a young girl. She's writing her own autobiography. That is also there. But generally, when I'm asking you to write an autobiography of an inanimate object, I expect you to cover all the incidents of a person's life. For example, from the childhood, a little bit about your birth, your childhood, then about your youth, your middle age, and then how your life, your present day as an old person, almost nearing death. But we never talk about death as in death because how can a person write an autobiography after he dies? Isn't it? That's funny, isn't it? So never talk about the death. Yours, the autobiography. You can never die and then write an autobiography. It has to be written. So you could be very close to approaching death. You may be feeling miserable, but you may be feeling very nostalgic about the good days spent. And so that helps you to lead a life of happiness. Or maybe you need not be sad. Even in the old age, you could be happy. You could be satisfied. You could be grateful. In fact, the autobiography that I have written as a sample for you to see, which is there alongside this video, is ending on a positive note where the author feels happy and satisfied and feels grateful to God for leading such a fruitful life. So you could do the same or you could think differently. So decide what you have to do, but never talk about your death. Fine. Now let us see what else, what topics we could explore for writing an autobiography next. Here I have some interesting topics for you. Yes, a few topics for you to think about, not to write. You will not write any of these. You will first think about it. We will discuss in the online classes. You will start in the online classes and then you will write. Fine. Okay, so you will start thinking about it and jot down the points. Remember the preparations, the instructions which I gave you to prepare. There are certain points that you need to do before you start writing an autobiography. So I want you to do that, okay, over the weekend. An autobiography of a pair of jeans, an autobiography of a mobile phone, an autobiography of a money plant, an autobiography of a cockroach, an autobiography of a newspaper. You can choose one or two, whichever you want. One, you could choose even one of them, and jot down the points. What could be interesting? Maybe you start off with one and you don't feel, no, it's not so interesting. You want to choose another one. Do that, discuss, think, and you finalize which one you're going to do. One of these I will ask you to write. Now, the money plant, don't get, just Google it up. Money plant is not actually a plant which gives you money. It's a plant which, the name of it is a money plant. It's got a leaf, it's like a heart-shaped leaf. It's an indoor plant. It's an indoor plant, and which can be kept, which is very commonly found in many households. Okay, so I thought I must clear that. But anyway, after this, I think I have given you a very comprehensive uh, instruction and details about all the details that you need to know about writing an autobiography. I have kept it as the value points also. All the things that we have discussed in the video, I've kept it as value points, and that has also been uploaded as a Word file. So have a look at the Word file, the value points, have a look at the sample, go through this video again and again, and try to be confident. And then when you write an autobiography, I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful read. So are you feeling ready? Yes. So all the best, and have a happy and safe weekend. Okay. See you next week, students. Bye bye.